County Board of Education, June 2013 monthly financial report, July the 9th, 2013. End of 2013, to date, as of today, our ending balance is $27,000 in the red. Possible accounts receivables will receive some money for utility taxes and also franchise taxes. I had hoped that our franchise tax would come in. Called the Sheriff's Department today. 50,000 came in. It's projected around 200,000. We didn't receive it today, but if we receive it the 1st of August, we can count it as accounts receivable, which will increase an estimated ending balance of approximately 200,000. And that is an estimate. We haven't received it in hand, but that is an estimated number for franchise tax. There also could be some unknown expenses. So an estimated ending balance for fiscal year 2013 is 200,000. Fiscal year 2013-14 budget. Some notables. We have 400,000 less sick money in the year of fiscal year 2014 than we did in fiscal year 13. Additional salaries not included in tentative from the recalled pink slip employees. Possibly 261,641 in additional expenses. A total shortage of revenues for balanced budget for fiscal year 2014 is 661,641, and that is to have a balanced budget for fiscal year 2014.
That's just the balance budget.
Yes.
No contingency.
It would be a contingency. Yes. Solutions closely monitor expenses, cut back on substitutes, reduce overtime, monitor attendance, encourage boosters to support sport activities, do in-district transfers to fill positions, only self-supporting field trips, put in place procedures and policies that encourage conservation, create a budget committee. And that's the monthly report for June 2013.
I want to thank once again Mr. Spillman for providing the report that he gave to the board. There was one item I'd like for you to address on the collection of the taxes. Could you address that? Yes.
One of the things I did after I wrote the report that you received was went to the Department of Education and checked on your equivalent tax rate collection for the last 4 or 5 years. What the state does, I don't know if you're familiar with this, what the state does is take all of your local taxes and converts it to an equivalent tax rate. That means you get credit for utility tax. And it gives you a standard comparison with all the school districts get a standard comparison that way, whether they have utility tax or not. Well, it turns out that your collection rate for 12-13 was $2.5 million. I'm sorry, $3.5 million. And for year 11-12, it was $4.2 million. So the amount of local tax being collected went down $700,000 in 1 year.
Why?
Well, that's a good question. I can't say this for sure, but it appears local governments now have the option of selling uncollected tax bills. If they sell uncollected tax bills, you get your money because the vendor that buys them writes a check for the taxes, and that's distributed to the local agencies that receive those taxes. It appears that your county government chose not to do that this last year, and those uncollected, is that accurate? Those uncollected tax bills still haven't been collected. Now, this gets to be a convoluted political issue. All of us hate to see them sell the tax bills because if you're one of the persons that gets your tax bill sold, it'll cost you twice as much to pay your taxes as it would have if you'd paid them on time. And usually it's political pressure that causes governments not to sell them because the cost goes up so much. But your tax collection rate this last year was 85%, 85.6%.
On that. Okay, on the utility, right?
No, it's 100% on utilities. There's no
Okay.
property taxes. That people don't pay their tax bill. And that's very low. I mean, 85, it should be 95% at least. So that's a problem that I would suggest you try to work with your county government, see if you can come up with some kind of alternative solution. Theoretically, you will eventually get that money, but it's after property sold at the courthouse, and that's something that county governments are generally very hesitant to do. And quite frankly, that's the reason why agencies that receive the money tend to encourage the governments to sell the tax bills, because you get your money. And of course, the position you're in is that if you don't have the money, you can't provide educational services. I mean, I don't think I need to review for you all the fact that school boards by law can't spend more money than they have. And it's a pretty severe penalty if you are the superintendent, make a decision to knowingly spend money you don't have. And I must tell you, I think it's only fair to say, in most of the school districts I've gone in to work on this issue, the board had no idea they were in trouble, and the superintendent sometimes didn't realize they were in trouble. I don't think either one of you can plead ignorance in this case, because we know we've got a problem. I mean, and so we just need to solve the problem.
But Henry, I was under the impression that the collection rate was around like close to 95%, is that right? Is that?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to track down, and I've even talked to Mr. Meadows as far as getting a good checks and balance of what is coming in. I mean, it just comes in. I have no way other than what's been given to me by the state to what to expect, but I have no backup documentation. So I've been searching for that for several months.
Or our collection rate is actually about 85% instead of
This last year.
Last year.
The year before it was $700,000 greater. It probably was 95% the year
And
before.
so this year here, there's been, I guess there's been something sheriff's department apparently that's, I mean, I'm not, please, no, I'm not knocking the sheriff's department, but
I have been trying to track it down, so I haven't found a solution yet.
Well, let me just say that when I looked at the numbers, I contacted Frankfurt and said, it looks like somebody failed to add in the utility tax for the equivalent calculation this last year. Would you all check it? And they came back and said, no, I mean, that's how significant it is. It's almost the amount of the utility tax. They
the
said,
thing
no.
I couldn't understand is when we took the compensating rate last year, as I told Tammy, I said the numbers don't add up. Assessments went up, and we were targeted because we took the 4% increase to receive about $120,000 extra dollars in property tax, in real estate, along with, I think it was expected to jump like from 2.6 to $3.3 million, about a $70,000 to $80,000 increase, and we were in the hole, and it just didn't add up.
And whatever that's going to be, it sure helps you to manage your school program if it's stable.
If it's stable.
When it's jumping up and down. Now, the other thing that they pointed out, the staff in Frankfurt pointed out, is that there was a big drop of $300,000 in unmined minerals. And you may know the explanation of that. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Based on the assessments.
Okay.
Based on the assessment. Well, see, that makes sense because the 3.5 million that we got in 2013 as opposed to 4.2 million in 11-12 is roughly about $700,000 that I couldn't figure out where it went. But that's money yet to be collected, apparently.
And that's why you can't always project an accurate number at the end of the year.
I feel sorry for
It looks like you come within a bit of $700,000.
Any other question?
So what would you recommend as far as, we've frozen, of course, our increase on our teachers, the percentage increase that they've got. We froze it at last year's rate. We don't have the money to do that.
So the biggest issue is not the lack of seat, but lack of collecting the tax, right?
It's a combination, and they're both in the wrong direction. I mean, that's the problem. My recommendation on the salary issue is that you delay any action on that till January, at least. But I think Mr. Meadows needs at least 6 months to get his arms around what's going on and how he can manage things better. And if you decide, I mean, one of the things that I personally, I'm a strong advocate, 2 or 3 things in building the budget. One is protect your instructional program. And 2 is,
Which is teachers. Yeah.
well, it almost is COVID teachers, not always. I mean, I put the Section 6 money right behind teachers.
Yeah.
You can't have an effective program in the school without some flexible money to buy things. And you can tell by looking at me, I've been around a long time. I remember when teachers were expected to buy supplies out of their own pocket. We don't expect that anymore. And there's no use to expect it, but we need to provide for it. So protect your instructional program and try to maintain as high morale with your staff as you can. And when you have to cut things that they've been planning on, and I know this is tough, but I think you're better off to reduce the number of people than you are to cut everybody. So, I would work hard in the next 6 months. If I could totally control it, and I understand no individual here can totally control it, none of it. You've got to work as a team. But if I could totally control it, I'd try to find enough money between now and January to give that raise retroactively. But if you give it now, you don't have the choice of pulling it back. So you've got to see, I mean, that's my recommendation, is that you see what you can do in the next 6 months to reduce expenditure and manage your budget and see where you are at that point.
When should we have